goodness. Good Monday morning, you guys. Oh, I can't believe it's already September. It feels like September here, even if it's just for a couple days here in Texas. So it is wonderful. But you guys listening to Author Talk with me, Amy, Russell, Valerie, and of course, Mickey is joining us. Good old lovely, lovely Mickey, who's up in Canada and fights the snow, in which us
He's
Texans
lovely.
don't like at all. But you guys, let's talk.
He's just lovely.
Let's talk about the weekend. I know. You guys, this weekend for me was so packed. So, as you guys know, I graduated from UTSA. I watched the UTSA Texas State game. Oh my gosh, what a hell of a game. That was like the best game all day, to be completely honest with you, at least in my opinion, for tat, that it was just wonderful. They did not win. We all know, birds up, we didn't win, but it was fantastic of a game. With all that to be said, though, Josh took my daughters to the Aggie game, and long story short, you guys, I was hanging around outside of the stadium while Josh was in the stadium with my
I
girls.
get
Long
that.
story, we're not going to get into that. And so, anyways, on top of all of that, Josh had all my money, you guys. And so I had to learn how to pay with my phone because it was hot as hell. Only in Kyle Field was it freaking humid. It wasn't humid anywhere else than Kyle Field. And we all know my feelings about Kyle Field, so we're not even going to get into that. But he had all my money. So I learned how to pay with my phone to get some dairy-free ice cream outside. And then naturally, you guys know I have daughters. And so they sat there for about 5 minutes and they were like, Dad, it's hot outside. And so then they ended up coming out. They got cotton candy because they had like, those cotton candy machines you guys have been seeing. They do the designs and all that. So they had one of those and they were eating it as they were walking out. And then we went and got crepes, So they had 5 minutes of their time. Now, I will tell you, I am this diehard of not an Aggie fan, that my kids wore navy blue, which was for Utah State. And then my other one wore UH shirt because we are UH through and through, and Josh wore a red shirt too. So we don't rep Aggie colors. Josh does every now and then, but it's UTSA or Go Cougs is who we are. But it was just an interesting experience. It definitely is a cult there. I'm not going to deny that. But it was interesting. It was fun. I learned how to pay with my phone. I've never felt so old than when I had to ask the cashier guy to help me pay with my phone because I didn't know how to do it, you guys. It was a fun it was a
Did he
really
look
fun
at
night.
you
He laughed at me
sympathetically?
like Russell's laugh.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yes,
That's so funny.
he
By the
did. He
way, I
kind of
don't know how
chuckled
to
and was
do it
like,
either.
well, I'll try. Hey, it was the one time I did it before the Aggie game. I was at HEB, you guys, and I was so embarrassed it wasn't working because Josh wasn't approving the transaction because it got sent to his phone. So I had to put all my stuff back. Like they had to like hold my stuff because I couldn't pay for it. I was so embarrassed. So I just was sitting here and I was like, I'm never again gonna do this. And then this guy just kind of chuckled. He was like, I can try. I was like, dude, okay. And I was like, I'm not that old, okay? I just don't know how to do it. He just started laughing at me. So, anyways, it was a fun, crazy experience, crazy weekend. Just it's just crazy over here in my house. But what all did you guys do this weekend? You survived the heat, a little bit of humid. I don't know if it was humid there. I'm sure it was in Houston like it was here. But what all did you guys do this weekend?
Valerie
Russell,
had a
you get to go
margarita.
first
We know
today.
that.
Oh no, I wish I did.
Yes.
I actually went to visit my mom in Centerville, which is way up and halfway to Dallas.
That's by
So
me.
yeah. Well, no,
They have
it's a little
great
bit.
pies in Centerville. It's a serious pie place.
Yeah, we just got some kolaches and stuff, so just a little bit of this and that, just road trip food. But yeah, we just hung out in the country. She's getting ready to move, so we're helping her pack.
I thought she
It's a
moved
lot.
last year.
No, we've been trying. Her house was on the market for a while, and then the house everything in that area is just sitting still. So we're like, okay, we'll just keep doing it. And plus, she's been in that house like almost over 15 years, so we had to like declutter and give things away and put things in storage and all. It's a lot, but it's okay. We're making good progress, and hopefully soon we'll be making the move. And then the kids were here, so we just hung out with them. We stayed up so late. we were actually up till 1 a.m. talking to my daughter who was here for the Parker McCollum concert, and we were like, "What are we doing up this late?" I was like, "I can't believe."
Okay, Valerie, I have a criticism. I have a criticism, Valerie. When my kids went to college, I had a rule. You can come back once a month. The other 3 weekends, you have to stay there. Number one, I don't want to see you. I'm free from you. Number two is when I was in college, I was always one of the drinkers. I know you're shocked. One of the drinkers that used to make fun of the kids that went home every weekend. So I actually forbid my kids to come home but one weekend a month. And by the way, they wound up not coming home at all till Thanksgiving, which I was good
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Well, they came in town for the concert, so I wish I would have went to that concert. They said it was really good. So, but that's about it. That's our big excitement of the weekend, going to pack things.
That's gross.
Sometimes it be like that.
Mickey, what'd you do?
Well, I just completed my portion of a Alberta, Saskatchewan book tour. And so I got home Saturday after being away for actually 5 days,
Oh,
Oh
and
yeah,
dealing
that
with
inconvenienced my life, by the way, Mickey.
what?
I said it inconvenienced my life because I was you were traveling. When I would send you an email, it would say, "I'm traveling. Don't bother me." Hey,
That
that.
Well,
sounds like
that
don't
Mickey.
sounds
That
like
well,
much
sounds
more
like
exciting, Mickey.
Mickey.
Much more exciting.
except when I had to come back home, when I had to deal with two very, very, very crazy cats going through owner withdrawal, because it's just like
Hmm.
they would not leave me alone for like 2 days. It was crazy. Ask me
Yeah,
how much work I got done this weekend. Like almost none, because these two cats were just like ballistically crazy
that's
over.
okay. You were on the road working 4 days. You get to not work.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you for that. We
That's a
should
rule,
broadcast that out to every team member within Creative Edge and see how they feel about that, Russell.
especially when we all got for the last 4 days before that. Don't bother me. I'm traveling.
I never said don't bother me. I said I'm checking my emails intermittently throughout the day.
I
There is
could
a
hear.
difference.
I could read the tone.
The tone.
Anyways, that was my weekend, and then just catching up from being away for 4 to 5 days. So yeah.
Mhm. I
Okay.
always feel like it's so much when you're away from home and then you're just like, wait, I got to do this, I got to do, even though you probably did all that stuff before you left, and then you come home and it's like, wait, why do I have more to do than than before you left?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then dealing with crazy
Yeah.
cats crawling across your computer screen and not leaving you alone while you're trying to get stuff done. It's
That's
insane.
a good
Yeah.
cat, though, Mickey. That's a
Well,
good
two of them
cat.
are. One is more needy than the other, but still, it's need is need, right?
Yes.
I
Plus,
like
dealing
cats.
with all the clients like Russell who are emailing me, you're now back in the office. Help me, help me, help me.
No, I did not do that. I helped you last week, remember? Because I was
You
paying
Oh, I
did.
debts.
remember.
I was paying debts. I owe you, is what I was doing, right? That's the way I looked at those last minute. Hey, can you do? Yes. I can never say no because you have saved me so many times.
Aw, thanks.
Okay.
Anyways, that was my weekend. So yeah.
So uh Saturday night, I had this strange experience. I've actually said on this show while I was in Georgia for 3 years, I have complained about the Mexican food in Georgia and Atlanta and that I couldn't get Tex-Mex and I didn't like the Mexican food. And I came across two Mexican restaurants that didn't even have pickled jalapeno slices. It freaked me out. But so Saturday night, we went to dinner with people from Georgia that have moved to Texas too. And it was so weird because they were complaining that there was nothing but Tex Mex in Houston. They couldn't find a good Mexican restaurant. It was the craziest thing in the world. It was like, wow, you that it was just crazy. These people don't like Tex-Mex. They wanted Mexican food and they hated it in Houston about that. It was
So,
strange because that's all I complained about in reverse in Georgia.
so what did they consider Mexican food?
They wanted uh do you know the yellow cheese that comes in the dip that you order before? What is that called?
Queso.
Queso, right?
Queso?
It's yellow. But
Yeah.
In in regular Mexican restaurants, not Tex-Mex, it's they use white cheese, not
Yeah,
yellow
yeah,
cheese,
yeah.
and they hate yellow cheese in their queso.
Mm.
And it was
No.
just, I mean, that was a perfect example. And I remember the Papacitos in Atlanta that we would go to because it's the only Tex-Mex place we could find served, yeah, a white instead of yellow queso.
Mm-hmm.
First time I saw
Hmm.
it, I was like, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's one of the beautiful things that I will always be able to say that I experienced by moving to Georgia for 3 years is
Hmm.
the different regions and how they're different and how they're not. It's very nice. I've
Hmm.
read so it was a bizarre night, and that's what we laughed
That
about.
is very bizarre that they'd be that picky.
Yeah, of course, so are we. I need to thank the people listening to us. Uh,
Mm.
you can find us on all the podcast channels. We've been on podcast channels now for 2 or 3 years. From when we were first on, I could never find us. Amy did some things. You can find us easily now. Amy, how can people find us?
Yes, you guys, I'm telling you, Russell can find us. This isn't an insult. So you can find us. Okay, you can. But my go to is always Amazon Music, Spotify, and Good Pods is where I go to. If you're an Apple user, iTunes, Android like me, Google Play, but literally anywhere that you can look for a podcast, we're on. On top of that, if you want to watch us and engage with us, me and Valerie are pretty animated. I talk a lot with my hands, but we're pretty animated. So you can come on over to our YouTube channel, any one of our social media channels, and you can come and hang out, engage with us, ask questions. We love answering them live in time. If you want to come and just laugh with or at us, we're generally probably doing that too. So feel free to come on over and listen and watch us and engage with us and get your questions answered. But you guys, Mickey is no
I
stranger to our show. You know that me and Mickey are good friends. He's friends with all of us. Hold on, Valerie, go.
I forgot on Friday night we went to go see American Psycho the musical, and
Oh,
it was based off the book American Psycho. How do y'all
Oh.
feel about a musical being based off something like that?
Okay, can I talk? Number one,
Oh,
I
yes.
I am a total opera wacko. So it's not that I don't like the human voice. I think it's the greatest musical instrument on earth is the human voice when it's right. But I hate modern musicals, especially in English. They're terrible. That being said, American Psycho is a satire of materialism in the 80s. And I love
Mhm.
the uh, fact that that the writer wrote a political satire, but in the cover of a horror murder story. I love it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I would, I've been dying to go see that, even though it's a musical because I hate musicals.
It's
But
it,
it's a
it's
great
the
idea.
most unusual musical you'll ever see. The most I can compare it to is Sweeney Todd. But it hits
Oh,
every
yeah.
point of the 80s, just point blank. But
I
it's
think
very
it'd be,
graphic. I have
Mm.
to say, it's very, very graphic.
O-
I think it'd be cool because it's
Oh,
dark.
yeah.
Okay,
It
None
is
of this,
dark.
the
none
one
of
thing I
this.
have to,
Go ahead, Russell. Yeah,
well,
go
the
ahead.
one thing I have to say is I was at a guy only uh, cocktail party of the church that I was in Atlanta one time. I know that doesn't sound like it goes together, but it did because we were Episcopalians. And it was all young guys in their 30s that they were all well educated. They'd all seen American Psycho. And when I saw the movie, I know the scenes that did things that were in scenes, just not the exaggerated form, like the whole business card thing. That was a
Mhm.
thing in the 80s. Who had the best business card? What was the
Yeah.
difference? And I was telling these guys this, they couldn't believe it because in the modern world, business cards are a joke because you don't do business cards like that.
Mhm.
Anyway, I don't know why I told that story, but
I
there
hope
you
there's
No,
go.
it was
spin-offs. I hope
yeah,
there's Yeah.
What do you think about the story, just the adaptation, when they adapt something and make it something new? And I guess I didn't read the book. Did any of y'all read the book? Yeah.
I
What did you?
didn't. Russell, you did?
Mhm.
Yeah, I read it.
So maybe
That's why
you'll
I would like to go see it.
Mhm.
I hope there's
I wasn't interested in it for 20 years, but I got interested in it when I realized, oh, this isn't just a murder story. This is a political satire of an age that I was buried in, because that was when I was a new lawyer. I was trying cases, and all those things that was going on in the book and the
Mhm.
movie and the musical, I was
Yes.
involved in.
Mhm. And
I
I
love
just thought
it.
it was very interesting. It was very interesting.
I love it. West Side Story meets Norman Bates.
Yes,
E.
yes, yes. It,
Yeah, great.
Oh.
it, but the music was good. People loved it. They loved it, and
Yeah, great.
it's just something different.
We should do a thing with Misery too. Misery,
Ooh,
the musical.
you know they probably will eventually.
They should.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
need dark. None of this singing in the rain stuff.
We
No.
don't need any
No,
more musicals.
Hey,
I
you
love
shut
musicals.
your mouth. Singing in the Rain is fantastic. Yeah, Singing in the
Yes,
Rain's
yes.
fantastic. I
I
hands
love it. I
down.
Absolutely.
love it.
It'll
Hands
be even better
down.
with Norman involved.
It's a little long. It is a little long, but it's fantastic. Mamma Mia 1 and 2, fantastic. Sweeney Todd, fantastic. Like, oh yeah, I'm a girl of show tunes. Like, yes, I'm here for that.
Okay.
Me too,
So
Amy. Me
bad.
too.
So bring
So
on the
bad.
darkness and make Amy
Oh
happy.
my goodness.
Okay. I'm having trouble. I'm going to have to disconnect right now.
Oh,
Awesome.
Okay,
Russell. Oh
let's
my
get to the
goodness.
book. Let's
Well,
get to the book tour. I'm
Yeah, I
interested
want to
in
hear
hearing
about
how
it.
it went.
I'm going. I
Yeah.
am going. So you guys, Mickey, as always, is working his little ass off doing PR stuff, being a badass.
Mhm.
And he is coming off of a 5-day, 6-day stretch for his portion of a book tour, a bookstore tour, I should say, currently with Sebastian de Castell. And so we are here, Mickey's here to give us some insights, because we always get questions like you guys ask the questions too. We get those questions about bookstore signings. What is it like? Is it worth it? Is it really going down? Independent bookstores, yada, yada, yada. So Russell, Mickey is here for you and Valerie and for everybody that can give you insights into how these events functioned, what it was like, his experience there, turnout, all of these things. So Mickey, you are no stranger to our show. So welcome back to, family
Thanks
hour
for
here.
having me again, guys.
So talk to us about your bookstore tour, the portion that you were on. What was the whole process from setting it up to expectations to what really happened? Would you say that it's worth it? Tell us all the
Mhm.
hot tea that you have.
So it started out Sebastian calling me and asking me to set up 4 or 5 dates in Alberta or Saskatchewan. Within 10 days of that conversation, we ended up setting up we had 20 dates lined up within 10 days. And we actually didn't have enough time to properly prep for everything that we did. But we focused on smaller communities and then translating out to some of the major city areas within Canada. And then the publisher got involved as well. And next thing you know, he's also going to the States. So he does 20 dates in the span of I think 13 days overall across Canada and the United States. He went to Seattle. He went to New Jersey. He's actually going to New Jersey very soon. He was in Montreal, Toronto, and then some rural areas in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Calgary, Edmonton, and a couple of smaller towns. What I found was really amazing, and I kind of knew this, but I don't think Sebastian knew this, and maybe other authors like yourself, Russell, may not know this. We actually ended up getting more traction out of some of the smaller centers than we did the larger centers. There's a little town in Alberta called Strathmore of a population of 14,000 people. He sold 9 books at that location, but the reporter of the Strathmore Times actually came down and interviewed Sebastian at the event. Unknowingly, we didn't know this. I mean, he interviewed me as well, but we didn't know this. But that newspaper article ended up going national across the country through other newspapers. So it's always funny because authors are like, well, it's just a small town. Why would I do it? This newspaper is not going to get much reach. And if it was by itself, it wouldn't be as substantial. But because of how this newspaper article went out, we actually got hits of over 500,000 across the country. And it hit into major areas like the Toronto area, things like that. So had we not gone to that tiny little store and this tiny little community, that would never have happened. And that's kind of the case around this. And I know I'm talking a lot, so tell me shut up if you guys want me to. But the other thing is,
I think that's a perfect example of like, you don't know the side effects of what's going to happen. That's one little action makes a ripple.
Well, and that's the one thing, Valerie, but also the other thing that we leveraged around this, when other authors are focusing, and indies especially, whenever they're focusing on book launches, and actually Sebastian admitted this himself as well, whenever you're focusing on book launches, the whole premise is to try and get independent bookstores with the feel that independent bookstores are going to give you the most traction, are going to give you the most media opportunities, all of that. We've actually found with this tour that the bookstore chains have been more advantageous in terms of sales and in terms of traction overall. Indigo Chapters is the largest bookstore chain in Canada. We went to, I don't remember the amount of signing, I think 8 signings overall. Sebastian typically sold between 10 to 30 copies at every one of those stores. But he was also able to sign every book that they had brought in for the event. So now you're looking between 50 and 70 signed copies per outlet, where they're now putting them on end caps, they're making them staff picks. And because it's a larger conglomerate, such as Barnes & Noble in the States, there's actually more in hand of getting traction as well. We went to one independent bookstore in Edmonton. We got 2 people. 2 people showed up and no books sold. It also happened the same night as a Calgary-Edmonton football game, which is the big rivalry, but we didn't know that. But my point is that, and it's not a detriment to that store, they did what they could, but because of the larger bookstore chains, you have more traffic coming in, you have more people excited coming in. We had fans coming in with their swords, asking Sebastian to sign them, because his thing is all about sword fights. That's his theme of his books. So, and that the one person actually followed us from event to event to event. So she saw Sebastian 3 times over these 2 days. These are just some of the things that are happening. We were able to get some national coverage. We were able to get CBC on board. We haven't heard the traction from the United States side of things yet, but overall it was very, very successful. But a lot of eye-opening adventures within this tour, answering questions that I didn't even know about as well. So, yeah.
So what kind of preparation? You said you didn't prepare. What kind of preparation did you not do that you thought you should do?
In a perfect world, a tour of this magnitude, you would need probably 3 to 4 months for prep time, because you need to let the media know well in advance that it's happening. We did all of this. Me and Amy did all of this within the span of 3 weeks, reaching out to the media, lining up tours, bookstores getting books in stock, posting events on radio station sites and event calendars within the cities that Sebastian was in, all of that. Had we had more time, we likely would have got more traction from the national media aspect. But I mean, we basically did this within 3 weeks, where we basically promoted 20 locations for signings in the span of 3 weeks. It's unheard of. I've never done a tour like this in this short a time. It's crazy.
So tell us a little, who's Sebastian? Tell us a little bit about the author and the book that you were promoting.
So the author's name is Sebastian de Castel. He's a Canadian fantasy writer who lives in Vancouver. Highly acclaimed. He's the author of the Spellslinger and Greycoat series. His Spellslinger series has been optioned for film. The director of John Wick is tied to it. All kinds of things like that. But his thing is all about, the theme of his books are all about fantasy, sword fighting, a little bit of humor inside of it. He's done a lot of stuff with the Vancouver Film Society. He's done a lot of stuff with the library system there. So, and I'm probably getting some of the facts wrong because I haven't got his bio in front of me, Russell. And maybe Amy can help as well because she's worked with him as well. But it's been good. Overall, it's been really, really good.
Okay. Amy?
Hold on, I forgot I have my mic muted. I forget those little buttons here on my microphone, you guys. Anyways, it's, I mean, you guys know I am one that says like independent bookstores are struggling or having a hard time, and book signings just in general, I think for independent authors aren't happening as much because it's harder to bring a crowd. Like you really have to have some kind of backing to your name, right? Obviously Sebastian is a traditional published author, so he has a name and credibility to it, so it's a little bit easier, I would say. But I mean, Mickey also like works his magic to get it. But I mean, I think, me personally, if you go into these bookstores, whether you sign the books and you have them sitting there or you've sold the books, it's a win, because it's like 1 or 2 or 10 or 20 books you wouldn't have sold. So I think it's always worth trying for bookstores, but I'm also a skeptic where I'm like, it's kind of a dying thing, and it's much harder for independent authors, in my opinion.
Okay, well, I have 2 questions in
But that's
response
just
to
me.
that, Amy.
I'm more on the side.
So,
Okay.
bookstores have really made a comeback from where they were 4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago, it looked like Amazon had killed the bookstore industry, and bookstores have really
Yeah.
made a comeback. And one way that they have done it is by making it more of a community thing. Barnes and Noble has made a comeback. We have a new one here, and it is a big community type bookstore. So I'm not surprised that Mickey said that Indigo was really receptive to this, because it's a part of how the bookstores now are marketing themselves. What kind of response did you get when you reached out to Indigo, and how did they help you get people there?
Well, I have an advantage because I used to work for Indigo myself, and I know all the corporate people, including the CEO. But beyond that, they would have been supportive regardless. There were certain stores that were taking a lot of pictures of Sebastian's books. They put them on end caps. They made posters for their stores. They broadcast those out. Not every store did this, but the majority of them did. There was a lot of traction. And again, like I said, in some locations, Sebastian was signing between 70 and 80 books after the signing was done.
That's awesome.
That's almost guaranteed sales, because I mean, I did hear that they can potentially return those signed copies, but what they're going to do first before they return those signed copies is they're going to circulate them out to the other stores within their area and try to funnel those out, because Sebastian didn't go to every location. Although we did have some stores who reached out after the tour was already booked, saying, can we have him as well? And it was a hard no, because he was already fully booked for this tour specifically. So that's one aspect. Another note from an independent book support aspect, McNally Robinson in Saskatoon, we had more turnout there than any other store so far to this point. I think there was 25 to 30 people at this event. They did a podcast as well and filmed the entire event and then broadcast it on YouTube as well. So I mean, there's wins across this entire thing. And even when you're only getting 2 people at an event, that's okay, because it's still an event that shows that you were there. And there's going to be hard wins within this, something like this, and there's going to be smaller wins within this.
True.
Sometimes because the timing was so intense, Like me and Amy worked like crazy to try and get this out. If we would have had more notice, imagine what we could have done from that aspect. We could have gotten more media outreach. And he was getting media coverage, which again is crazy with the amount of time that we had to do this. So it's here or there. And yes, Sebastian is a substantial name, but I'm also the belief that an indie author can still have the same kind of success, provided we have enough time to leverage that announcement.
Valerie, you seem to have a question.
No, I just think it's great. It's great that y'all are out there because I've done book signings at different venues, and just like you said, sometimes there's like a couple people, and then sometimes you're just like, yes, 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 go, go, go. But it is the fact that you're out there and making connections, and that people are aware of you. If they don't have no awareness, then that you're actually a real person, or they can communicate your thought process, or your characters, or just be a fangirl moment. It's really important to be out there.
Yeah,
Okay. I do have a question for you then, Mickey.
sure.
And that is in view of your story about going to the small town bookstore and reporter showed up and then you wound up having 500,000 hits. In view of that, how do you respond to the argument that the cost per function ratio of because the algorithms aren't there. When you do a podcast, you have potential exposure to millions of people. When you go to a bookstore, you get two or more, but you get the potential of those kind of hits. What's your statement on that? What's your view?
I have to be very careful about how I word this, just because I don't want to speak for Sebastian, but we did talk about this. If an author is looking at it merely from a cost perspective of books sold, every tour like this, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be Stephen King, George R. R. Martin, Diana Gabaldon. If they look at it only from a books sold perspective, doing a tour like this one, the tour is a failure. It is. You can't make enough money back in books sold to warrant all the costs within this. Whether you're with a traditional publisher and they're recouping some of that, or you're fronting everything yourself. Sebastian paid for all the hotels on this Alberta portion. Sebastian paid for all the hotels for me on this portion. He covered all of our food. I just did the driving. If you look at it from an economic book sold perspective, he lost money. But everything else beyond that, good tidings, good relationship with the bookstore, getting the books on end caps, being featured on staff picks, getting Indigo to list every single event on their website, which is unheard of. They listed all 8 of his signings, where normally they only list 1. Things like that, plus all the media hits. When you look at all of that from that perspective, will Sebastian probably do this again for his next book? He probably will, because it's a win, and you have to look beyond the book sold perspective. We don't know how many of those fans who bought books are now going to tell 10 of their friends to go buy this book because Sebastian was so nice and kind and meeting with them and so professional in that arena. Sebastian did an event with 2 people at a bookstore. He spent almost an hour doing a presentation to those 2 people. And it was so well done, and people were so happy. Like, it's just, that's what happens, and it's what you need to do. So that's a long answer, Russell, but that's my answer.
That's a good answer. That's the answer I wanted you to give.
Yes.
So what's next? What I wonder, people that are listening that haven't published their first book, and you've talked about notice before, and I've heard you in the past talk about how much notice you need before even a book comes out to publicize it to get ready for a book launch. But if people are listening and they're wondering, I wonder if I could do something like that. Uh, what should they do if they publish the book, but they don't know what else to do next?
You need to have 3 to 6 months notice for something like this to be successful. You need to get major editorial reviews, and places like Library Journal, which circulates to every major library in the United States. Library Journal requires the book to be submitted to them 6 months before publication date. So in the case of Sebastian, again, I'm going to use him as an example because while we're talking, he's already told me point blank, he's going to get me a copy of the book for his next book, which comes out in May next year. He's going to get it to me in December so that we can do a launch and do this properly. We need to get major newspapers, Houston Chronicle 1. They probably want the book 3 to 4 months in advance of publication date. Library Journal is 6 months. Bookstores are already in January. They're all going to be planning their year. There were many bookstores that we wanted to book Sebastian in who basically said, Mickey, I would love to, but I'm fully booked for the year. I can't slot him in because they're planning so far in advance. McNally Robinson in Winnipeg, who I have a very, very good relationship with, would have loved to have booked Sebastian. They were booked by August for the duration of their year. So if you're trying to do this from a focus standpoint, you have to plan ahead. And as an indie author, here's my advice to everybody, because you asked me, get your book ready and plan your date, your release date, and then go back 4, 5, 6 months and make sure you're fully ready if you're going to do this right. Because doing 20 stops in the span of 3 weeks, it was successful because Sebastian is a substantial name in the fantasy market. It would not have been as successful if it was an indie with their first debut book. We wouldn't have got half what we got. Guaranteed. Agree, Amy?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I was going to say is, the event that he had the most success at so far, right, that Mickey's contributed or has mentioned, is because the bookstore itself was heavily involved in promotion and making it a successful event. Not every bookstore, and I mean, I'm going to say this lightly, like, don't come for me, but a lot of the independent bookstores aren't necessarily going to do that. They're going to want the bigger names that are going to bring crowds in. They're not going to want to spend money and stuff in terms of marketing and those kinds of things to bring people to their store. They're going to want you to do that, to bring people to the store. So it kind of just depends. But the more heavily involved that the store is and also promoting that you're going to be there and leveraging their audience and stuff, I mean, it goes to show the more turnout you're going to have. But it really just, in the long run, you have to be picky on where you go. But this is why I always say for indies, right, which is primarily who I work with and enjoy working with, is it's not necessarily a success to do book tours or book signings because of this. Like, you don't have the name necessarily that goes with it, especially if it's a debut book. A lot of the bookstores aren't going to take like the gamble on you to have you in their store, and they're not going to put forth a lot of effort. They're going to depend on you to do that. So the burden more falls on you than the bookstore, and you're not really working together. You really have all the odds against you. It's better to do things online, focus on online sales, running those promotions and doing those kinds of things. You're going to reap more of a benefit than the burden of a bookstore tour. As for indie authors, like, that's all that I can speak for, but that would be just my advice.
Even
not to
traditional
discredit
authors.
what you're doing.
No, and even traditional authors in some aspects. There were some independent bookstores who turned Sebastian down for this tour because he did not have the name recognition in those cities. And he said, because we're not known in this area, we're afraid no one's going to show up. So they declined us. So it's not just indies, but to your point, Amy, it's across the board. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's just, the time of bookstore signings, in my personal opinion, is like a dying breed. Everything is more focused on like online or in-person events, not necessarily bookstores.
yeah, but I got to say, Mickey makes a great case for why Sebastian had a very successful showing, especially a small town. I find that a very attractive argument. I know that when I was in Georgia, uh, every little town, and they're only like 10 miles apart, has its own bookstore. You could sweep through Georgia and just never get out of the state and do book signings in these small towns. And I think that people that are listening, that are contemplating, I wonder if I could do this, should consider where they live in that aspect. Because, in Texas, you might have to drive 2, 3 hours. In Georgia, it was like 10 miles apart. These little town bookstores, and they all have their own little newspapers that go into merging into these widespread, uh, you know, where the article can be picked up from one little town and spread through a whole state or a region.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's exactly what happened. The Metroland Media Group decided to run Sebastian's article in all their papers.
That's so great.
Awesome.
That wouldn't have happened had he not gone there.
Right.
Yes.
So yeah, it's multiple Google hits on your algorithm overall, and it only makes you look better. Imagine if that was an indie with their debut book. They've now been featured in 6 newspapers at the expense of 1 report.
Right.
Yes.
What's wrong with that?
So here's the question. Should people considering coming out with their first book, or they've published a book and now they don't know what to do, would it be better?
Hello. Good morning.
Amy, you're still on.
I'm
the
good. How are
phone.
you?
Amy,
Amy,
you're not
you're
on
home?
mute.
Yeah, your home phone call was on.
Hi, Amy.
Then okay.
Anyways,
Okay, so would you be better off to doing these book signings in these small towns from town to town rather than signing books at conferences, or uh, you know one of the big parties that Amy loves to go to? What's better, Nikki? What's better,
I
Valerie?
feel like any exposure is good exposure. Any opportunity to sign a book, connect with your audience is a great opportunity, but I could be wrong. I mean, I've had all those different experiences like you're talking about, Mickey, but I just say I never say no. That's from my dad. My dad never said no to his business, and I just never say no to opportunity.
yeah, I agree with you, Valerie. I think it depends. I think the author has to look in the mirror and decide what their goal is with their book and what their accomplishments are. If they're trying to get a local media outlet or trying to get news coverage for their launch or what have you, going to a conference is not going to do that. Conferences are going to focus on their big names for the media opportunities, and they're gonna pitch those directly. But if they want some one-on-one time and maybe it's not always a guarantee, but maybe get like a newspaper article around your book or what have you, go to a smaller center where the local newspaper is not got as much going on. You never know what's going to happen out of that. Like Sebastian's a big name. He's been covered in Variety. He's been covered in HuffPost. CBC News covered him, all of that. When he went to this small store, he wasn't thinking, I'm going to get media today and sell a ton of books. He was thinking, I want to provide some semblance and be in a smaller community and give a small bookstore who just opened a chance to get some traction. He wasn't expecting the reporter to come down and actually interview him. Like that wasn't what his mantra was. It happened, but that's not what the goal was. So, yeah. Does that make sense, everybody, or no?
Yes.
It makes good sense. I wonder if the reporter was sent down there because that little town has a new bookstore. You just said it, and they wanted to support their new bookstore, and Sebastian got the benefit of them wanting to support that store. I wonder.
Well, we did reach out to the paper. Actually, the bookstore reached out to the paper as well. We didn't hear back from them, so we thought, okay, they're just not interested. Next thing you know, the guy's walking in with a camera, and he's like, Mickey, I want to talk to you first. So I got some coverage as well. And I mean, it's just good tidings overall. And for an author my advice is, if you're an author, especially in indie, never get worried about reach. Never get worried about the opportunity. Traction is traction, exposure is exposure. And if you can do both at the same time while selling books and meeting a new fan, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
I've heard you say that before. That's kind of something you preach.
It is, because reach at the end of the day doesn't really matter. You could be in the Houston Chronicle, and if you're not sharing that outlet, it's not the Houston Chronicle's job to share that outlet. It's your job. It really isn't. It's not. They've done their job by allowing you to come on and be part of whatever they're doing. It's now your job to get it out there. That's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. That's a true statement. Anyways. No, Mickey, you're not off sides. I'm in agreement with you. It's just, I'm fickle when it comes to bookstores. Whatever, you guys. Anyways, my AC people were coming. I told you at the time that the show came on, so I had to reschedule it. But thanks for saying I wasn't muted, because I turned my camera off instead of muting me. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is the tone for Monday, and it's terrible. Oh goodness. Anyway, so now you can hear my sweet, pleasant voice on the phone when people call me. Anyways, you guys, this is always such a fun conversation. Mickey, it's always such a delight. It's such a delight to have you on. Russell, you didn't pick on me today. I'm extremely grateful for all of you guys, 100%. But we hope that everybody has a fantastic Monday, a great rest of your week. Enjoy your AC that I temporarily will not be enjoying until Friday. But until then, bye for now.